Hi, I'm Roxanne Richardson, and this is Technique Tuesday. If you've ever underestimated the amount of yarn tail needed to complete an Italian, tubular, or any other sort of sewn bind-off, or if your bind-off edge is too long to complete it with a single length of yarn, you will need to add a new length of yarn at some point during the bind-off. In this video, I'll demonstrate how to add a new length of yarn as you are binding off, but also how to handle weaving in those yarn tails dangling from the middle of the edge. So what I'm going to do is bind off using a grafted bind off, or some people might know it as a tubular bind off or an Italian bind off. I'm going to go halfway and then I'm going to add a new length of yarn to show you how you can do that if you run out of yarn or if you're even planning on using shorter segments for your bind off. Okay, I've just dealt with a set of knit stitches and now I'm going to deal with a set of purl stitches. I'm working with 2 needles, so it'll be the back needle, but if you are working with the stitches all on 1 needle, it will still be at the point where you are letting a purl stitch come off the needle and then inserting through a purl stitch, and the yarn will be hanging in the back. So this is the point where I take my yarn needle out of the tail and I introduce a new length of yarn. With this new length, I'm going to create a slip knot, and I'm going to insert the old yarn tail, the one that's now too short, through that slip knot. I'm going to tighten up that slip knot and then just slide it up to where it's touching the needle there. And the point of doing the slip knot, because we're going to take it out later, is just to provide some tension and just anchor that yarn to the existing yarn. So now I'm going to thread the new yarn tail onto the yarn needle, and then I will continue on. So I made note of where I left off. I left off with a set of purl stitches. I did the 2 maneuvers for the purl stitches, and now it's time to do my maneuvers for the knit stitches. So you do need to pay attention to where you're leaving off. Okay, I finished the bind off and now I need to come back and deal with these yarn tails. So what I want to do is look for what is the slip knot and what is the yarn that went through the slip knot. So you can see the slip knot is surrounding this yarn tail right here. So I'm going to pull that yarn tail out of the slip knot, and then that will allow the slip knot to just be released. So this is the new yarn and this is the old yarn. What we want to do is have these 2 tails cross paths and follow the path of the other one in order to make sure that they're linked and that we don't have any gap in that cast on edge. So I'm taking the new one, it's coming from the front here, and I'm looking at the back at where the other tail is coming from, and you can see that it came through these 2 stitches right here. So I'm going to run the new yarn tail through the path that the old yarn tail ran through at the end. So I'm going to do that. So that's crossed that path. And then for the other one, I want it to follow the path that the new one took. So it just came over here on the top. So I just want to bring this yarn tail over on top of it and then have it come through to the back of the work. So essentially it's like duplicate stitching that, and that's all. And then now both tails are in the back of the work. And what I can do now is weave in the ends like I usually do for ribbing. And so what I usually do is I go up 1 leg. If you can see the V's of these knit stitches, go up 1 leg of the V, and then follow the path across here to the other side of the stitch. And then we can go back up in this direction. And I'm not going to go the whole way because I don't want this yarn tail to, when it's cut, to show at the edge. So I'm just going to go up a few stitches so that it turns around in the other direction. Then I can trim that. And then I will do the same thing for this other yarn tail. I'll find a column of stitches that I can go down. So I can come up this side of this set of knit stitches, come across behind here, and then back up here. And then those ends will be woven in. But then you can see that the edge looks just fine after having joined a new tail in the middle. Now, I demonstrated this technique using a grafted bind-off, but it can be used for other types of sewn bind-offs as well. The slip knot join is exactly the same, and when it comes time to weave in the ends, you cross the paths of the two tails and then weave in the ends using whatever method works best for the stitch pattern at hand. For more videos about sewn bind-offs, check out this playlist over here. This video down here demonstrates a nice method of weaving in yarn tails. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.